Hi, I'm Antonia. This is Universally Me. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Antonia Carlotta and join the Lemley family on Patreon. It's a great way to show your support, plus you get bonus content. I finally watched Renfield. So many of you, like way more than normal, commented on my YouTube and on Instagram asking my opinion of the movie. I finally watched it so I can give you my real unfiltered thoughts. For those of you maybe out of the loop, Renfield is a 2023 horror action comedy film starring Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult. It was directed and produced by Chris McKay and also features Ben Schwartz and Awkafina. In Renfield, Dracula's loyal servant must secure bodies for Dracula to feast on. The film opens with Renfield at a support group for people in toxic relationships, though he's not there to unpack his own dynamic with Dracula. He's there to prey on the villains in his groupmates' stories. As the movie unfolds, Renfield does a little self-reflection and finally sees his own toxic relationship for what it is. There is, of course, a B story with gangsters and corrupt cops that I will tell you up front I could have done without. But I know Universal has been really open with the fact that it wants to lean into the action horror genre, kind of bordering on superhero. So I don't like it, but at least I'm not too disappointed. Nicolas Cage, though, let's talk about Nicolas Cage. Something like 10 years ago, one of the best art shows that I ever went to was a Nicolas Cage themed art show in downtown LA. You got a Nicolas Cage stamp to get in. They had Nicolas Cage cookies and treats, and every single piece of art in the entire place was either of Nicolas Cage or inspired by Nicolas Cage. And that's a little bit off topic, but I guess kind of what I'm saying is like the very things that made this Nicolas Cage art show so amazing, the characters that he has done, his commitment to his role, the personality that he has carved out for himself, the very things that made that art show so amazing are also the things that make him such an incredible, fun pick for Dracula. He is campy and crazy and demonic and kind of ridiculous. He has none of the restraint of Bela Lugosi's Dracula, even when at the beginning of the film, he's shown in flashbacks as Bela Lugosi's Dracula. But I don't think that that's the Dracula that anyone expected here anyway. Nicolas Cage himself said he was always a fan of Dracula, and he studied Bela Lugosi and Frank Langella and Gary Oldman, trying to figure out what he could bring to the role that was different. He wanted it to pop in a unique way, and he focused on the movement of the character and combining that perfect tone of comedy and horror. Going into the movie, I'll be honest, I don't think I was super excited about Nicholas Hoult in the role. I think he's a good actor. I really liked him in The Menu, but I couldn't quite tell what he was gonna bring to Renfield. And there are times in the movie where I think I wish there was a little more inner energy, I guess I'll call it. But I was really impressed with him overall. I think he hit some of the comedic notes really well. And ultimately, he kind of endeared himself to me. And rounding out the cast, Ben Schwartz and Awkafina play kind of versions of the characters that we always know them to play. Now, I love those characters. I think both of them are brilliant and they can make me laugh all the time. But I already kind of told you that I don't even like their whole storyline. That's no fault of theirs. They just didn't have good material to work with, and I don't think it really had a place in this movie. So it was hard for me to get into them, but they did the most with what they had. I do appreciate that the movie had real color and cool lighting choices. Nothing bores me more than a modern day horror film that shows you it's scary by making everything gray and dark and drab. So I loved that every scene in Renfield had pops of color and interesting angles, cool stylistic choices. I loved the set design. The colors for sure veer more into superhero territory than horror, but again, we talked about why that was probably purposeful by Universal. So even if I think it's the wrong choice, I would still rather the wrong choice than no choice at all. At the time I'm making this video, it's about 1 month after Renfield premiered, so I have the benefit of knowing how it did at the box office, and the answer is not so good. Renfield had a budget of about $65 million, and it has currently made about $30 million. And the critics were pretty mixed on it too. In my dream of dreams, Universal takes note of this and steps back from making these movies action movies. The Invisible Man cost only $7 million to make. It had incredible financial return, and it's a legitimately scary movie. This movie, it was fun. Renfield was fun, but it wasn't scary. It was, I guess, just pretending to be horror. I would say 80% of the movie was a totally different genre. Yeah, there was gore, but not horror. My message to Universal is stop trying to mimic the other studios. Stop trying to follow their comic books, their superhero franchises. Carve out your own space and be a leader. I think Universal needs to make the Universal monster movies for real, as horror films, as suspenseful movies. They don't need to be action films. And we have this amazing precedent to build on. You can make Uncle Carl and Junior Lemley proud by continuing that legacy. That's what I hope Universal takes away from Renfield, from The Mummy, from all of these modern movies that they're trying to make action movies that are not in their heart and soul action movies. But now that I've said all that, I want to hear your take on Renfield. I want to hear what you think of how Universal has been bringing the Universal monsters back. Please show your support by joining the Lemley family on Patreon. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Antonia Carlotta. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.